Welcome to the Nordic Mythology podcast. I'm Daniel Farrand, owner of the company Horns of Odin. As always, before we jump into today's show, I do have to plug our Patreon. It is how we keep the lights on. I know you're probably sick of hearing it every week, but like I say, we have to kind of go through this. So please go over and check out patreon.com/Nordic Mythology podcast. Have a look at all the different tiers, all the different goodies you get on there. One of the main ones is the Q&A that you get after every single episode that we record. So it's a little bumper, a little extension to the main show. And basically, you get the chance to ask the guests some questions. And a lot of the time, I miss questions. You know, I get a little bit excited in the episode, and maybe I just miss something blaringly obvious, or maybe the guest just forgets something. And it just gives that opportunity for people to ask it, catch up. So you get that little bit of extension of every episode we do, and they're a full back catalogue on the Patreon. So if there's an episode that you like and you want to hear more, there is that little extension on there. And that starts from £3 a month, which is basically a cup of coffee once a month. And I would really appreciate it. Like I say, it's how we keep the podcast going. And if you can't, just a like, share, 5-star rating, wherever you get the podcast, all that kind of stuff really does help boost it up. I know it sounds trivial, but it helps just other people find the podcast who then may be able to support. But I'm really excited for today's show. I haven't had this guest on for a little while. He needs no introduction. Can't speak today. Introduction. It is my very good friend Jonas Lorentzen and the creator of Nebala, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Hello, everyone. Good to be back. Good to be back for sure.
Yeah, Phil said you are the professor of all things sexual, which I feel like that's that's not a bad way to describe you.
No, that's not a bad feather in the cap for sure.
Your hair's coming in nice as well.
You know what? I'm doing the no poo thing.
Okay, what's that?
No poo, just basically no shampoo.
Oh, okay.
I've been doing it for about 2 months now, and it seems to be working out pretty well. And it was a kind of funny thing because it wasn't one of those the bring down the big evil shampoo, whatever big shampoo's got to go or whatever. Had nothing to do with that. It was actually just that I forgot to buy wax and I was traveling. So I couldn't find the brand that I wanted. So I thought I'd just try to not wash my hair for 2 days and see how it would look. Mm. And then it looked fine. And now I've been doing it for 2 months. And
Yeah, I think so. I used to wash my hair, shampoo, conditioner every time I went in the shower. And then my good friend Meg that works for Lush was like, no, you don't do that. Yeah. Like you're not meant to do it. I didn't know. I guess nobody ever taught me this. I just thought you had to wash your hair every time, but apparently it's not that good for it.
It's not that good for your hair, no. Apparently not. Either way, I'm trying this out for a while. I can feel that the longer it gets a little bit more difficult to sort of keep in a way that it doesn't just start looking like a little bit flat and sort of falling down. But yeah, for now it's working out. Mm-hmm. But anyway, you asked me about the hair, so that's why I went into that tangent. It's really not what I'm here to talk about.
Well, I mean, anybody that's listened to one of our episodes probably expects it already. But that was maybe the earliest tangent that we've gone on.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So let people know who haven't listened to a Jonas episode before what you do, a little bit about yourself.
Well, I mean, I'm a musician, I think, like first and foremost. I'm a musician that I had a background working with Heilung in the first 2 years of Heilung. I was playing with them. And then I went solo, started my own project, Nebala. We released our first album in 2022. And if we're going to be talking about what goes into becoming a musician, I think that's a good place to start. Maybe sort of post jumping off the Heilung wagon and starting my own, because that's when I really learned how difficult that is. But I've more or less been a musician my whole life and sort of got into the whole sort of music that's inspired by spiritual ideas and so on, and then. Later on joined Heilung, of course, and then started my own, worked with The Northman as well, the movie The Northman, for anyone who's seen that one. I wrote some music for that. And
you appear in it as well?
I have had a little role in it as well,
cameo.
It's a little bit more than a cameo, but yeah.
I don't know what is a cameo. I just say it because it sounds right.
I mean, a cameo is when the best example, I suppose, is what's his face, Stan Lee in all the Marvel movies, going like, "Oh my God, that's a green monster," and then it jumps to something else. Like
Okay.
that would be a cameo. A cameo is like Peter Jackson dressing up as one of the warriors from the Rohirrim and throwing a spear at an orc.
Oh,
For
okay, okay,
instance, that's a
okay,
cameo.
okay.
Mine is actually a scene.
Yeah. There you go. See, I do apologize. Did I accidentally offend you then?
No, no, no. It
Oh.
is a short scene. To be fair, it's a fun little dancing and singing and celebratory
Mhm.
sort of scene. Sort of a very animated kind of two guys. Well, me and then Isadora Bjarkansdottir, who's the daughter of Björk, who plays another slave, and we're sort of whipping the slaves into a sort of sexual frenzy with a very lewd song that no one can understand because it's in Old Norse.
Mhm.
But I mean, they could understand it, of course, or at least that was the
Yeah.
whole point.
It
Yeah,
suits you very much.
it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and then of course I carried on with Nebala for a while. Have actually sort of like kind of put the Nebala project on ice for a while, you could say, or when traveling at least for a while, kind of as a way of sort of recalibrating a bit. And yeah, now I'm also doing magic singing courses,
Oh, yeah.
which is something I just started doing this summer. I've had a few small preparatory kind of, let's say, events and rituals that I've done with this type of thing, and then I went and now I'm doing it for like larger groups, which
Mhm.
is basically using different techniques to make people connect to their voice and to connect to each other through their voice with the different types of practices within voice activation, you could say. There's something we can talk about later, but it was just to give you a little recap of where I am at the moment.
I mean, it would be magic if you could get me to sing. If you could get me a good singing voice, that would be a nice little
I mean,
trick.
it's not really about necessarily figuring out a good singing voice. These kind of things that I do is much more about giving people the permission to sing, giving them a space where it's okay to make noises with other people in
Okay.
a somewhat rhythmic way.
Mhm.
So it's all about creating that space, really.
Mhm.
Which I don't want to I want to say too much, but it's yeah, it's much more about like sort of creating a few different. Like I'll start out with doing things that makes us feel silly. So some vocal exercises, workout basically, could be quite silly. They can sort of include letting your whole face hang and just going like that,
Yeah.
really. And it's both to help clear the throat, but it's also just to sort of relax your face, because a lot of times what happens when people sing, especially if they need to sort of express a lot, is that they clench up in the whole sort of top area of their body, and that makes it impossible actually to sing.
Does it
So it
tend to
has
be
that.
does it tend to be people who can already sing? Or
No,
is it because I know it's not about learning to sing, but I feel like for me, I'm obviously a terrible singer. So I would be reluctant or worrisome to sign up to something like that, even though it's not necessarily about the singing. I guess it's about the connectiveness. But I would be kind of apprehensive because I know how bad my singing is. So I was wondering whether you found it was more people who thought they could maybe sing, and I guess that silliness breaks down those boundaries.
I think people who are looking for experiences that could be an event or a whole retreat for that matter, that are, let's say, that have a healing nature, or a sort of sense of self discovery, or those kind of things, self help,
Mm-hmm.
what all these different buzzwords of today, wellness and so on and so forth. I think people go to these things, at least there is the yes that they want to maybe clear out some things or whatever. So whether that's lying down with 20 other people and hyperventilating for an hour, as in with holotropic breath work or something like that, or whether it's coming together and singing, or whether it's doing yoga, which also can get you in kind of compromising positions at times, with the rest of the,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember many times feeling like, fuck, I'm so stiff. This is so embarrassing, doing that in front of others,
Yeah.
but still wanting to do it because I knew it was good for me and good for my body and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as long as there is that opening, people, in my experience, last time I did it, I think it would be maybe 20 or 30% out of the whole cohort were sort of had some, at least some nominal experience with singing. Some people came to me afterwards and said they couldn't even really remember singing in the bath,
Yeah.
singing in the shower.
I
So
think
that's the level of experience with singing. So do you get it? Like, wouldn't even sing to themselves. That's how embarrassing it is,
yeah, but I think
So yeah,
that's probably also in some ways maybe even more rewarding for people like that, because again, I'm not a singer. Maybe the most you're going to see me sing is on a road trip. Then I get caught up in the moment and I'm just singing along. But
and it's just Rocco next to you, and he's
yeah,
like,
yeah, sometimes with my friends
he
maybe.
bears with you, maybe. Yeah,
but
okay, no,
but
no, I was joking.
I'm not going to yeah, I'm not going to sing in front of other people. And then I guess to do that and have that freedom and kind of have that experience I would assume would maybe be more rewarding maybe than somebody who already has that confidence, because it's completely free. And I can't think of a time in my life where I've ever actually sang in front of someone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and definitely. I mean, there were there were people there that had such emotional reactions to this experience that they started crying.
Mm-hmm.
So another way also of like getting people out of their shell if they're not comfortable with singing with other people was that when we went to some of the final stages, so everything all I do is in stages. It starts out very, very, very simple. It starts out just loosening up, basically a lot of bodily exercises, actually, just to get people into their bodies and out of their minds, because it's their mind that
Mm-hmm.
like you talking about the self-consciousness of singing with other people, right? How self-conscious you would get. So and then when you get to the last phase, I ask everyone to close their eyes, and then we start singing, and we start on a note, and I sort of send out a humming note, and everyone catches on to that humming note, and then I would go around and touch people, and sort of not I would just poke them, all right?
Yeah, okay, I'm with you.
Just go
I'm
around,
with you.
just like go around, touch people. Now they're closing their eyes.
Close your eyes.
They can't see where their hand is coming. No, no. I would just sort of gently poke, and then that would send people off into their own singing journey. So basically, that's when they would start riffing, just
Oh
riffing.
wow.
It could be anything from someone that maybe does know to sing would do like oh, something like that on top of the roar that's in the bottom. Some might just go yeah, scream, or like do a big
Mm-hmm.
howl, or just a big woo, or a big whoop. It could
Yeah,
be
yeah.
anything really, because they're completely in their own space, but the notes are sort of carrying everyone together. And then I would have little drum cues to get everyone back to the drone, and then send people off again, and call in response, and yeah, lots of different things. It's just that, just basically just having fun with creating sounds together
Mm-hmm.
as a group.
Oh, I feel like this
And
would be a lot of fun. I'd like to come have a go at this.
I think you would have a lot of fun, Daniel. Even you say you can't sing at all, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I think, I dare say, I think you would feel liberated after that,
Yeah.
just doing
Well,
that with a lot of people.
yeah. I mean, let's we'll probably loop back to this later in the episode, but obviously I've spoken to you a lot about me wanting to be on like more of a spiritual side, and we've had a ton of chats kind of one on one. And I think we live in this time where everything's so pressured, and
Mhm.
there's so much kind of need to fit in the status quo and follow everything and not embarrass yourself and not
Yeah.
kind of appear silly ever. And we're just so scared to have these moments, almost like childlike moments of just doing whatever the fuck you want, even if people look at you, who cares? Like, have fun with it. And we don't do that, and that's something I need to try and incorporate more and want to get more into my life, and the willingness to just kind of, just have fun with things, not worry about what everyone says all of the time.
That's exactly the thing. Sorry, I am trying to find some of the stuff that I did a lot of research on this actually, because you're touching upon, you know, one of the things that Einar Selvik talks about a lot as well, which is the lack of people singing, basically.
Mm-hmm.
In today's, I can't find it right now. I'll find it later. But in today's society, he always talks about it every time. Sort of before Helvegen, I think he more or less delivers the same spiel about how there used to be songs for everything, right? There used to be, I dare say that if you go back 150 years or something, if you went down to the local inn or at a local celebration in a village or whatever, you would find that people there could maybe hold within their own heads at least 100 songs, maybe even much more, that they would know by heart, and so everyone would know it. So when the musicians went da 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 da, then everyone would know that here comes the song about the farmer and his wife or whatever.
Yeah.
They would just do a cue, and then everyone would just fall in. Today, and there's research been done on this. Like there was one research that from I think Berkeley or something like that in the US that showed or that talked a little bit about the different reasons for why we don't sing together anymore in the same way we used to. And one of the reasons is of course that we had industrialization, and that made people moved out of the countryside and villages and so on, where people would be knowing everybody and so on, into cities and little cubicles, and basically getting separated from one another entirely into these little boxes. Even if they're sort of coming closer together, they're getting separated.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, of course, the advent of recorded music. When this is kind of strange for someone who wants to live off recorded music to say that recorded music is actually a big bad in a way. But it is because all of a sudden you had removed people who were playing the music. You had kind of removed them into this medium, into this product. They were the people singing songs and so on. They were up on the stage, or they were in the records. It wasn't everyone singing together anymore. There had been this separation between the people and the artist in a way, where in music the artist and the people were very, very much together. Of course, you could. I mean, these are shallow analysis at some point, to a certain extent, because of course you could say that there was classical music before that, and that was very much a sit down and listen kind of experience. But there's lots of different things leading to a situation we have today, where people in the modern Western societies, for sure, and other societies as well, have stopped singing together, and it's a damn shame. It really is, because anyone who's tried singing together knows the power that it wields, that it has to stand with 10 or 20 or even 100 other people and sing together. I guess you get it when you're in the football field a little bit, but it's
Yeah.
lo, 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 lo.
But it's still
but it's still,
some sort of
yeah.
unity, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you think music would have been, I guess I've never really thought of it like this before, a little bit more special? Because I think now we maybe take for granted the music is everywhere because of that recorded medium. You can just put Spotify on, it's on TV in the background of adverts, it's playing in the store when you go to buy your groceries.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before it was recorded, you would have to be around a musician or somebody who was playing live music, which I assume would be a lot less than it is in today's medium. So do you think people would maybe appreciate it a little more because you would only get it in these
Sounds perfectly reasonable that it sounds perfectly reasonable that there would have been pockets of time and geographic places where that would be the truth. I would say you would also have pockets of time and geographical places where that would not be the case, where music would just be everyday, part of life.
Mm-hmm.
You would just be singing when you're going down to get the water. There's a water song. You would be singing when you're cutting the corn or whatever.
Okay.
You would be singing. So music, maybe with a whole band and so on, might not be something that's happening all the time, but singing for sure.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you just be kind of making your own.
You would just have all these different folk songs that would fit,
mm-hmm.
or spiritual songs. If you go to the Amazon or something like that, or Africa or whatever, you would have spiritual songs as well, and there would be the whole village would be playing drums or playing on something or the other, So it depends. It depends on the situation and the place and the time and so on and so forth, But I think whatever this leads back to is that music is somehow essential. Music is somehow completely essential for everyone, and most people have been cut off from their own ability to take part in this miracle, Also because it's like, no, don't sing because you can't sing like Beyonce, or you can't sing like whoever the fuck,
It's almost as though we live in this time where, especially with social media, that unless you can do it at an expert level, you fear absolute ridicule. So if you put something up on Instagram that doesn't like fucking blow people away, you guarantee the comments are going to be full of, oh well, you shit, I'll get better, or whatever terrible comments. So it's like, I would love to just fuck about on some drums and just like see what happens, but I would be very conscious to do it because I know I can't play the drums.
Yeah, but you shouldn't send it out on fucking social media. You should find someone to play the drums with. That's the thing. Like, you need to play. And I really do believe that everyone has this innately in them, and of course there are some people that are gifted from birth. I do believe that as well. But everyone has this ability. Everyone can take part. Everyone can enjoy it. I think that's why Franz Kafka, the author, said that music is the lowest form of art. Now, he might have been a cunt when he said that, because he's sort of like a aristocratic, sort of like uppity author. It's like, oh, music appeals to the masses as well as the highborn. That whole thing. But I think he was right either which way. Music is the lowest form of art because it really does go to something primal in us, It goes straight in the groin, It's, when you hear these big fucking bass drums, you're like, whoa, you just feel like fucking, So
always got to go there, isn't it?
Well,
got to go there.
Well, it would be embarrassing or it's disappointing otherwise, right?
There is something to it. I mean, anyone who's been anywhere where there's just that bass, and I think the last time I experienced it was a Heilung gig, and it's
that
just
bass
like
is insane.
That bass that like hits you through the chest, and there is something very just as you
shout out to Christopher Yule for his production skills.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Yeah,
it is that complete just primal instinct inside of you, just like this drum that just hits you like right in the chest. Like, it just gets you. It gets you moving, like whether it's tapping your foot, tapping your hand, doing something. It's just like gets you going. It's a lot of fun.
Just to sort of touch a little bit more on this whole practice of of spiritual singing. I actually have some stuff here that I looked up before starting this podcast. I'm being very professional today. So I've got notes and stuff.
Wow. Is that a first?
I don't know. Is it?
It might be.
It might be. I think it might be, actually.
Usually we just wing it.
Yeah. But I mean, since we're talking about this, and since it is Nordic Mythology podcast, there's this whole thing about trance and divination having been sort of carried by different songs and so on. And that's also a lot of people who do voice activation stuff. I know that Lindy Faye Heller from Vardruna does some of this stuff as well. Would also call it Seidr singing or magical singing, right? So, like for instance, like the way a practitioner would use specific chants or songs to communicate with the spiritual realm. You see that as well in South America with ayahuasca ceremonies, with the Icaros or Icaros. Sorry to any Spanish-speaking person here if I'm butchering the pronunciation of that word, but the Icaros or Icaros that the shaman is singing or playing while people are going through trance situations and so on. So that's why it's interesting thing to call it Seder singing. You have also a description of a Seder ritual from the saga of Eric the Red, where Volva is sort of dressed in a special robe and sort of with cat fur and all that kind of stuff, and is kind of brought in to sing a specific type of song called a Vardlokkur, something like that, which is also a kind of chant, right, to get into this particular state, trance-like state. And it's interesting what happens when you do this, say they're singing, and you really have a group that gets to a point where they loosen up entirely for themselves. Because I don't know if I didn't interview every single participant afterwards to find out what kind of things came to them, but I saw people standing and crying. So a lot of emotions and certain things from the deep wellspring of being definitely came up for a lot of people in this kind of experience. I think it's also you're repetitively breathing all the time because you're constantly singing and constantly letting out long notes and then breathing again and you're breathing together and so on. So
Do you
I think that
think?
has something to do with it as well.
Do you think with these types of rituals there is anything to, I guess, like a form of oxygen deprivation in the, when you're breathing heavy, especially in singing and getting kind of into that, when there's less oxygen, you are going to get that euphoric feeling.
Yeah, it's funny with the whole breathwork thing because some types of breath work sometimes
Yeah.
some types of breath work works on this deprivation. Some types of breath work works on over
Okay.
over sort of like stimulating or like taking too much oxygen in as well.
Hmm.
So you can get there from both things. But I think that is a part of it. But I also think the repetitive nature of chanting the same thing over and over again, and the breathing and connecting to your breath and to your voice and all that kind of stuff, it just takes you away from all the other things that the mind is occupied with constantly in the sort
Yeah.
of normal day-to-day state of mind, the alert proper problem solving
Hmm.
state of mind. You get away from all that stuff and you're just allowed to observe the mind as things go on. And then I just think in that space it's a sort of safe space, to use a modern term, for stuff to come up,
Hmm.
that you wouldn't normally maybe be aware of. Yeah, yeah, I think that's it, more or less.
Yeah. I look forward to coming and doing one. I think it'll be a lot
I
of
did
fun.
I did one in the combination of plant medicine as well at some point,
Oh,
a
nice.
small one.
Yeah.
Um, that was very interesting as well
Hmm.
because there you're also working with the medicine, right? So you're both working with the sort of practice of singing and singing freely with other people and noticing how because what happens when you're on a plant medicine is that you get extremely alert to certain things, right, to certain patterns and communications and so on.
Now, when you say plant medicine, is that
Yeah,
just a way of?
it could be everything from as mild as a blue lotus flower mixed in some strong cacao or psilocybin, or in
Okay.
this case it was psilocybin, but yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were just trying to be coy and like not say it, not say it.
I don't. You know what? The thing is, I have sort of thought a lot about how open and candid I should be about the experience I've had with psychotropic drugs, and I've come to the conclusion that I don't give a fuck. Like I really just cannot. I cannot
Yeah.
because the thing is, I have gone through the experience of doing it recklessly, and I know that's not a good thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with everyone who doesn't want this stuff to just be like a magic pill that everyone should take and then happiness ever after. I'm with all those people. I'm with all the people that say it's dangerous for young people to get into heavy drug use at a very young age. Yeah, yeah, no duh, it is
Yeah.
really. But there is also another side of this, and
Yeah.
let's not throw the proverbial baby out with the bathwater. You know,
Mm-hmm.
really, it's
Yeah.
stupid. There is such beauty, and these medicines have been used for thousands and thousands of years by shamans all over the world. It would
Mm-hmm.
be so fucking arrogant for us in the Western world to just go, no, no, that's not very good. That's something that's relegated to savages and so on, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That would be insane. Anyways, so I'm not going to be ranting anymore about that.
No, let's get on to Nebala, because this is like technically one of our creator episodes. And I think it would be fun to talk about what it's actually like to be an artist. Because I don't think many people get to see it, and the challenges that go into making an album. I know you're looking at making the second album for Nebala,
Yes.
and so making the album, creating the music, booking to tour it, to be at festival, all that stuff. Because I
Yeah.
think we all probably get this probably rose tinted look at what an artist would be, and you kind of expect it to be this lavish, fun lifestyle where you just get to like go and play music and it's all amazing and everybody thinks you're great. And I imagine it's not really like that.
It's no, I mean, there are pockets of that here and there.
Mm-hmm.
There are great little moments of you know, delicious ego boosts and and all that
Yeah,
sort of thing.
I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are.
Oh yeah, no, there most definitely are, and but yeah, a lot of it is really, really, really hard work and disappointments upon disappointments.
Oh.
I mean, I thought after the Northman that I was like, okay, wow, I've actually written some music for this Hollywood movie with like huge stars in it. I've I've been a vocal coach on it. I've sung on the score, and I've even had a fucking, role in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Surely
The
the
little cameo you
thing
had.
is gonna, the little cat, the little fuck you, you know.
I
No,
do
but
apologize.
I thought that the only reason why my phone would be black was because it was sort of turned into coal from the red hotness of the phone. Just people
Yeah,
calling me, and
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
fuck, yeah. Of course, I'll do your project, Mr. Spielberg.
Yeah,
Of
yeah.
course, the
Mm-hmm.
whole thing. But no, unfortunately not. And that's been some really, really tough times in between that, and starting with Nebala, setting up. Okay, so releasing the album and premiering it by having two huge shows
Mm-hmm.
on festivals, in front of thousands of people. I think at total, maybe just on those two shows would have been something like 10,000 people seeing the two first shows.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is insane for a project that's never done that before. And the only experience I had with big productions prior to that was the experience I had of being a someone who participated in a big production with Highland, right? So I
Yeah.
got to see certain parts of what that was about, but I wasn't privy to the booking of hotels and managing of like
Mm-hmm.
supply lines, and it's like going to war. And luckily, I credit where credit is due. Had great help from particularly Rob, the percussionist, and Shell Broughton in doing this. And would have been totally impossible without them. At the same time, there was all kinds of things about like setting up rehearsals, figuring out how to make sure that people rehearse the right things and know what they have to do when they get up to the rehearsal. spending too much money on that. Not the budget not adding up at the end of it, all that stuff. Like especially on Midgard's Rob was a little bit more the man on Castlefest because that was he knew those guys and had played them many times before, so he was a little bit more hands on that one. But in Midgard's Blood, I was literally running around like a headless chicken up until right the moment before stepping onto stage, playing, and then of course it was done, and I could go out and go down to the fire and get my groove on, But up until then, it was just hard work,
Mm-hmm.
And then actually, when I came back from these two shows, and I went straight into a chef consultancy job kind of thing up in the mountains of Norway.
Was this the one that went wrong?
No, the one that went terribly wrong was a couple of years before that.
Yeah, I thought it was. I got my timelines. I think we spoke about that on here before.
No, that one I don't even want to mention. That was
I wasn't. I thought that was. I just couldn't remember if that was after.
No. So this was up in the mountains for a retreat place up there. But anyway, the point is that I was so burned out, and I didn't get to notice it after having finished that 1 month job that was there right after the two shows. I was so burned out by that experience, which is saying a lot, because people do this for months on end. But I don't know. I did my best, but it really did drain me entirely. And then I decided to just pack up my bags and go to India for about 6 months. So what happened was also that my back completely broke down. Like I was bedridden for a month, roughly.
Yeah,
I was totally destroyed.
You lost a lot of weight.
I lost weight once I went to India because that's when I started realizing that if I was not going to break down physically, I'd have to focus on my physical health, not just my mental health. So I started doing a lot of yoga and surfing and trekking and all that kind of stuff, and lost a lot of weight. Yeah.
Do you think in part that whole thing was, you get this euphoric high of these two big shows, and are they like a month apart? They're or a little bit more.
Not even.
Is it 2 weeks
apart? 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah. So you get this 2 week period of like this huge high, and then you get this kind of drop off, I guess, after almost. What's next? What do we do next? What's the next thing? And does that throw? I don't want to throw like the depression word around, but does it throw you into that kind of?
I think so.
Yeah. Realm.
Yeah. I think it's quite common for artists to experience this. So yeah, I wish I could say I was special. I think I'm quite cliche like when it comes to that. Like it's hard to get into the wake of the wave, when you've been on a real nice peak of the wave or whatever, But I think for me it was also I kind of I sort of lost track on what I was doing with Nebala, and this whole creating a big show with Nebala from the very get-go might have been somewhat of a mistake, even if people do say that they really enjoyed what we created there, but it might have been somewhat of a mistake because it kind of started us too high, I think. That's another thing about like getting into this whole sort of what does it take to be a musician and so on, because it's also you're standing there with I felt with the product that I'd made with the first album that it was a pretty good product. Like it was a pretty good. This is a pretty good first run of the mill.
Yeah, absolutely.
First good run of the track really, and then trying to figure out how to present that live in the best way, putting all your eggs in that basket, that working out to a certain degree, but not working out the way you wanted it to. and then a whole year of like figuring out, okay, then what? I don't want to get into too many details because it involves too many other people, but it's just you realize at some point that, or at least I've realized that if I want to do this, if I want to do Nebala, I need to do it with myself at the core, with maybe a different core of just a few people, and then a larger core of people that aren't necessarily in the inner core.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I've really figured out. Like if
Yeah.
you bring too many people in, uh, like certain people can do it with bands and so on, but I find it extremely difficult and hard to do. And so that was a huge learning curve for me to
Mm-hmm.
figure out that in order to be a leader of a project like that, you have to kind of insulate yourself in a way. It's kind
Yeah.
of strange, but you kind of have to.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there was part of you that was really, obviously you being with Heilung, you had that, do you have that thing of like really wanting to emulate that? Because obviously they had that huge success from Castlefest. And was there like part of like that thing of wanting to take that same path through? So that's why you went with the huge production rather than maybe what you would have rather done, because it was kind of what you know and what you'd seen be successful.
Possible. Again, you have to remember this was my first try, my first run
Yeah.
at doing something like this on my own, playing with all kinds of people, playing in bands, playing for all types of different projects, but never being the sort of centerpiece of it all.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that was definitely a part of it, like trying to use a kind of a model or whatever. And that didn't work out, and for a lot of good reasons, I think, as well. But I should have thought this in a completely different way. But again, I'm not salty about it because it just was just a really, really good learning experience for me, and I know exactly what I want to do this time. And who knows, maybe that's not going to work either. But it's
Mm-hmm.
it's um, because obviously what any artist is trying to do when they put out art, I would say, is to try to find a way that they can make a decent living off that,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
So
So yeah, so those kind of considerations definitely are there, like what is the most profitable approach to get this out to as
mhm.
much people as possible.
For me, when you say it didn't work out, in I guess in what sense? Because for obviously I was lucky enough to see both shows. I got to see the Castlefest and the Megaspot, and they were amazing shows. People in the crowd loved it. You guys obviously had a lot of fun, so it just seemed like they were a huge success. And then we talk a bit, and then you're in India and Sri Lanka and having kind of I assume taking a little bit of downtime. So when you say like it didn't work out, what does that kind of relate to? If you want to go into it or can go into it.
Oh, I mean, it just didn't work out in terms of like the approach to doing two big shows that would somehow um, be sort of the eye opener for the project, and then doing live videos and so on and so forth, and putting them out, sort of that elevating the band to a place where we could keep doing shows of that size was just not possible. So it's not that it didn't work out. I mean, I'm still here. I'm making music and I'm having a blast doing it. So, there's nothing that hasn't worked out. What
Mhm.
what what didn't work out was creating a platform where Nebala could keep playing big shows with so many people involved, because
Yeah.
that was kind of a
Mhm.
one-off. Like Castlefest and Megasport willing to throw in at least a big enough part of the money that needed to be there for it to be viable to even do two big shows like that. Otherwise, it would have been maybe
Mhm.
me with two other guys with loopers, and that would have been it, instead of a huge
Oh, okay.
production. Yeah.
So it's in a sense of doing your own Nabala like tour, I guess, and then be able to springboard from those two shows into
Mm.
your
But
kind of
also just
own shows, which would.
maybe the right way. But we can always sit here and look at it in the what is it? The Danish expression is the unfavorable light of hindsight. I think it is the Danish expression. The unfavorable light of hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and so on. But maybe the other way of doing it wouldn't have worked either. But I think more to the point with something like Nebala, it should have been done smaller to start with, and then build up from there.
Yeah.
You keep falling
Do you
out a
think
little bit, mate. I
that's
don't
what
know
you'll
what's.
is that the approach? How do I?
Sorry.
Do you think that's the what you'll do this time around? Go for more of a but you obviously there is a core kind of group who know Nabala now. Who's be, I
Sure.
think anybody who
Yeah.
experienced both those shows are going to remember Nabala. They know who Nabala are. They're going to listen to the next album. They're going to give it
Yeah.
the time of day. They're going to
For
check it
sure.
out. The album is great. I love the album.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that's wonderful and remarkable is that that's a pretty decent amount of people that stick on. Whenever I look at the Spotify numbers and so I can see that there are some people that really stick on that really must have had such an impact with the album that they're sticking on. And I'm really proud of the first album. Really proud of it. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's really great. And I'm super excited to putting out a new album and see how I can do things differently this time. I'm all just excited about it, because I think that's one of the things that's great about being an artist. You have an idea, you try it out, and it doesn't work out. Okay, well then what's possible? It's not like, oh, it's shit, it
Mm-hmm.
didn't work out the way, let's say, didn't work out the way I had planned it to work out. Because who knows how it worked out and didn't
Yeah,
work
yeah.
out. Only time will tell. But it just means that, okay, now I have the opportunity and the possibility to do something different, to present this music live in a
Mm-hmm.
different way, in a different, and that forces me again to be creative, and that's what I like to do. So if I was salty about this and said, oh, something is forcing me to be creative, I'm probably in the wrong line of work. It's like, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. But there probably is a big group of people who would just give up, I guess. They
Sure.
would have a go. It doesn't go necessarily how they want it to, and then they go, that's it. That was like the chance. Whereas
That was the
I have
chance.
full
Yeah.
respect for, oh, okay, it didn't go quite right this time, but next time we're gonna change it up. We're gonna do it. Because I think that's important to do it your way. Because you are such a, an interesting person, a creative person. Anybody who listened to our old episodes knows that of you. You're a character in and of yourself, and a lot of people, you're a likable person, and a lot of people do these things
So
for
kind,
you
Daniel.
because and I think that and I think that's the success of those two shows as well. You are that very likable person that people want to get behind and they want to help. So I think that the second time around, you doing things your way and how you want to do it, rather than maybe like looking at ways that have been successful before, will only work out
Oh, that's
in
100%
a
true,
great
by the
way.
way.
You just go,
Yeah.
okay, this is me. Yeah, this is me. This is what I'm going to do, and create something that you love, that you like, put it out there. And I think that's usually when people can tell like authenticity, can't they? They go, oh, this is just fuck it. This is me. Put it out there, and then everyone. That's when people attach to it because it's like so authentic and raw that you can kind of you feel it.
Yeah. Um, I mean, first of all, thank you for all those kind words, Daniel. That's really nice of you. And I know you mean it. So I know you're not just licking my ass. So I thank you a lot. And
You're welcome.
yeah, sorry, I got completely confused with all those flatteries.
I do, but
uh,
well, there you go.
and platitudes. um,
um, no, I guess in short, I was just saying that I'm excited to see what you do with the second one when
yeah,
it seems like you're going to take this route of just just be you. You're going to take this route of kind of like center Nebala around yourself and then kind of put out what you want to put out. And I think that will resonate with people
I
a lot.
mean, I tried a lot of things, different things with the creation of this new album, lots of different constellations and so on, and nothing really seemed to work out. And then at some point, Binors was sort of asking, "Hey, we're gonna have this is kind of a fun thing." Again, this is the fucking way these things just happen. They say like, "Hey, what about a new album?" and so on, and I'm like, oh, "Okay, yeah, but let's make one." And then after all kinds of things not working out, I decide to call up. I was lucky to get some pretty how do you say affordable studio time in a decent studio. I called a multi instrumentalist that I know that could bring a lot of instruments. So that would include all the different melodic instruments and drums and so on and so forth. And he can play all of these. And I had like a good 10 days, which turned out to be only 6 days because the first 4 days we just struggled with technical difficulties. Again, this gets very nerdy, but neither him or I are producers. So we just knew how to set up a microphone and hit record, really. Yeah. So,
Okay, yeah.
so
but again, I think this is lifting that
that,
veil behind what it takes to make something like this because you just assume that you're someone like Nabali, you played these two big shows that first of all, you're not going to have to pay for studio time. I never thought about that. That was a revelation to me just now. I'm like, you have to pay to. I was just like, I don't know. You just go find a studio. Surely there's one that you just go record in, and that kind of stuff's just there, ready for you.
yeah, no, not for me. I mean, for certain artists like Christopher Yule from Heilung, but Christopher, ever since I knew him when I was about 18, has always had a studio. Or back then, I think he was selling coffee to or hot chocolate. I don't know, something like that, to make his money to have a studio. So he's always been a studio nerd, and with all the different things that
Mm-hmm.
comes with being that kind of tech uh tech savvy kind of guy. I never was any of that, so I always needed a studio. So I got this studio time. Technical difficulties the for 3 4 first days, and then all I had was an idea to for 9 different songs with a concept and with all kinds of research behind it. We can get into what that was later, but that's all I had. And I just invited him over to come to fly from Italy, where he's from. His name is Gilli, and he flew from. I met him actually around the fire in Mecasblood. He's one of the Italians that used to play there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he came to Denmark for those days. We recorded a whole or material enough for a whole album in those days without having anything whatsoever. So the
Wow.
whole so this
Okay.
is it's again no, the reason I'm mentioning is a stark contrast to the first album. The first album was made just before
Mm-hmm.
COVID. Then COVID hits. Then figuring out how to make this middle part
Yeah.
like the so it was made in 3 parts. So the first 3 songs made just before COVID with Sebastian Gainsborough from the Northmen. This the one of the composers from the Northmen. Then in a studio with this guy who, you know, was a nice guy, but couldn't really record, at least not in the way that I wanted things to be done. So I had a lot of shit
Mm-hmm.
material there. Needed to find a different way to do it. Called up Shell Broughton. Shell says, "Let's do the last part of the album in my studio." Fly to him. So it just took more than a year to record this album. Not because the actual work time on the album was that much, but because of all the obstacles in between. So the contrast from there, doing it like piece by piece, and then trying to piece it all together at the very end, to one fucking week, and then the whole material is there for the album.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and which also
Okay.
gives it a completely insane sort of organic feel. So that, and I hope that'll be clear when it comes out. But then the interesting thing is that then I figure out like I then get a call from Binors that says that due to different unforeseen reasons, they have decided to end the what do you call it collaboration, let's call it, between me and Binors. which is
Oh, okay.
the label I've been on.
Okay.
And they give reasons which are fine enough, and I'm not again salty about that. It was an amicable break. I wish them all the best. But I stood there with an unfinished product, and I had sort of like to figure out how to finish it up, and if there were re-recordings that needed to be done and all that kind of stuff. So long fucking process ahead of me being done with this album. And I decided to call up Christopher from Heilung, who after I broke up with Heilung, him and I didn't really speak for a while because he went off to do his things and I went off to do my things. Now we sort of started talking again and hanging out a lot, and I decided sort of to ask him, hey man, what do you think about actually working on the new Nebala thing? Wouldn't that be a fun way of doing things? And he was actually, maybe it is time, maybe it is the right time. And
Yeah.
I told him about me having split from Binors and everything, and it's like, so now it's actually Christopher that's going to mix and master and edit this album with me. So it's gonna sound amazing. So it's a lot of
That's
like,
exciting.
I mean, yeah, it is exciting, and it's just powering through. It's powering through. Don't go silent into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light, like
Mm.
constantly. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun, but what is again a testament to? Just if I may finish that, is that it's always like that. A door closes and another one opens. But if you think that, oh, the door closes is closed forever, and you don't keep your eyes open for that other door that might have opened elsewhere, you're just gonna sit in front of that closed door and sob, And
Yeah.
yeah,
Sometimes there's just a crack in another door and you have to like
exactly.
force it open.
I mean,
Because
I wouldn't
again,
have
you could have
contacted.
sat there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could have sat there and been upset about it. Or you could have, like you said that you and Chris hadn't spoken for a while. So it's easy to go, okay, we've not spoken for a while, so I'm not gonna contact him.
Mhm.
Whereas, it takes that moment of first of all picking yourself back up. Because I imagine, when you get that email, you or I don't know however the conversation went, but I imagine
Phone
it's
call.
very
Yeah.
much it's good. It's got to be good in. It's got to be upsetting and
Yeah.
hard to take because you're in this position where you're with a label and then you get that. That's got to be heartbreaking. So you got to pick yourself up and go, okay, well, we've got this half project. Now I have to figure out how the fuck I'm gonna finish this rather than go again, like a lot of people might just go, well, that's it, fuck it, I'm gonna go do whatever and give up. Whereas you don't, you go, okay, well, I'm gonna contact somebody I've not spoken to for a while. I may not necessarily amend those things, but build that relationship back up and then go back with, go and make this new thing. And it takes a lot. It's a show of character to do that.
I
And
mean, I will.
yeah, I look forward
I
to it.
will
I
say that
really,
Christopher's and my Christopher's and my relationship had already been sort of very beautifully on the mend for a while at that time. So, or
yeah,
on the mend. It sounds like sounds like we were at each other's
yeah,
throats. It was never like that, but we just had started to sort of started talking again and had a lot of fun
yeah,
moments and some friendships I think are just very difficult to let go of and to some just stick on. It's mostly I would say in my life people have
mm,
come and gone, but certain people in my life, and Christopher's one of them, has sort of stuck on ever since I met him. And so it was just a beautiful moment to sort of say, hey, should we just do a project again like good old times, together? And that's what we're doing. And it turns out that he's gonna have a little bit more time in between Heilung shows now as well. So there were some other things that sort of the universal clock sort of conspiring to align everything, and
yeah,
there's a line through, and but this is
mm-hmm,
the thing. This is the thing. Like if your mind is open that can happen all the time, it will happen. It just You just have to be open
Mhm.
to it being maybe not what you expected, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be
And
willing to just take those other paths.
yeah, and the whole thing about taking control of the whole thing myself and doing it the way I want it, it's exactly what I'm doing now. So instead of relying on Binors to fund it and so on, I'm starting a crowdfunding campaign, for instance, now where I have all these
Hmm.
different tiers that people can support the project with, you know, and get some insight into how it is to make an album like this, because there's a lot of stuff that still has to be done. All the main part of the production is actually what has to be done now, re-recordings and so on. And I will take people behind the scenes and all these different kind of things. And there'll be tiers where people can sign up and support the creation of the album and get a few free singing lessons, all that kind of stuff, you know. So that's a fun thing for me to do. I've never done that before. So
Hmm.
to bring people along on the journey
Yeah.
to say, hey, you know, if you love this music and you want to hear more, I need your help. Let's do it together. You know, bring more people into the family, so to speak.
Yeah. But I love that because not only obviously at the end of the day, you give experiences because you need the money. There is that obviously very kind of binary exchange, but also you're showing people the journey and they're becoming part, like you say, part of the family.
Yeah.
So they're gonna love this album even more. They're gonna get on the journey. They're gonna drink the Kool-Aid to
Yeah,
say
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
they're gonna come on this and then they're gonna tell their friends about it. And I think there is that benefit to it. There is that kind of community feel that's gonna lift it up and kind of
I mean,
spread it
I think
out.
again, it's
And I think that will
perfectly.
be
I think it's perfectly cool, you know, because like if people think that what I do with Nebala and with the art that Nebala that I'm, let's say, I'm a vessel for with Nebala, if people think that brings value to them, why wouldn't they want to support that? You know, I do that all the time.
Mhm.
You know, everyone does that all the time. If there's something we think that brings value, we will support it. Um, yeah.
Mhm. Will that be, is that on Kickstarter? Or
No, it's what's the other one called? GoFundMe. Yeah,
GoFundMe? Okay.
yeah.
Is
Because
that up and
Kicks.
running now? Or
Well, it will be once this one gets released, I think. Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
next week. Next week, I'm launching next week.
you know where the best place do you know the best place for people to find it now? Or will it be just like go through your
So
Instagram
I'm
page
announcing
or
it next week. So that'll be on the Wednesday. The why can't I? There we see. There we go. So Wednesday the thirty
which means
first.
it will be live. Yeah, so it'll be live when this comes out.
Yep. Sorry, not Wednesday the 31st. Wednesday the 28th. The 28th
Okay.
of August. It'll be live. Yeah. And then it's on the go through Instagram that I'm going to do the promotion of it through Instagram. So it's at Nebala Music.
Mhm.
That's where you'll be able to find it. The links and description and all that stuff.
Wonderful. I'm really excited to see where it goes. Is the before we're gonna we'll wrap up in a second and we'll do the little Q&A. So if people want to hear more of this, you
Yeah.
can jump over and listen to that. But oh, do you want to give people maybe a little tease of the direction of it? Is it going to be similar
Yeah,
to the
sure.
first album, or are we going completely different? Where are we going with this?
So the first album was, you know, about sacred sexuality. So the next one is just going to be full on nasty
Mhm.
porn, just like latex,
Oh yeah.
Thor fisting
Oh,
Odin,
okay.
like yeah, full on. No, this is going to be the other side of the one was the sacred part. Now it's just the pure carnal. No, none of that. No, it's actually when I had the idea for Nebala, my first idea was to make an album dedicated to uh, the concept of rites of passage. So again, this tying back to the whole thing that there was a song for each cuddle moment in your life. There was a song for your birth. There was songs from your childhood, nursery rhymes, that sort of thing, childhood songs. There was a song for your rite of passage of like becoming a full grown or at least a fully fledged part of the tribe, right? Then there was maybe a song for falling in love rituals, song for marriage, a song for your first child, nursery rhymes again, a song for old age and wisdom, and a song for death. So that was the original idea, actually. The whole sacred sexuality thing sort of came in from the side and sort of took over as a more viable project for the first album. At least that was the idea back then. But now I'm doing it. So now this whole album is dedicated to it's kind of a journey through life, basically. And I will not say too much more than that. Nice. But it starts before life and ends after life, you could say. So it starts and ends at the same place in some sense. And this time the inspiration for the textual material and the different rituals and rites of passage is taken from all over the world. All kinds of different spiritual traditions.
Okay.
Bringing it all together in one big, beautiful, culturally appropriated work of art, I suppose.
Will he still have that? We don't know what Viking Nordic music really sounded like, but will he still have that feel?
Yeah. There will still be some Nordic stuff. Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't want to go away from the Nordic stuff. Sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say what I loved about the original one was that I said the original one, the first one, was that you got a clear sense of your like Indian influences,
right?
That really came into that first album, and I loved that because that's something that I don't necessarily listen to and I don't hear very often, and I really love that kind of merge in there. So I'm hoping for more of those kind of blends.
There's going to be this one is mad. There is going to be everything from Indian to West African to there's quite a lot of West African actually in the next one, especially in particular in terms of the beats and so on. But there's even some very, very, very traditional, almost traditional medieval sounding, Scandinavian sounding folk music type things going on there as well. So it really is. I mean, if you think I went full donkey on the first album, you wait till this one comes out.
Yeah, nice.
This one's insane. But in my estimation, there's some more catchy stuff on this one as well. So it's both. It's both kind of reaching in all kinds of different places. Also harmonically, there's some really weird things going on with mixing major and minor in weird places and so on. And it's really just this guy Gilly and I, who's a very dear to me, vibing for 7 days to the idea of going through a journey from the void of existence back to the void of existence. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But so I'm using everything from Latin to ancient Greek to Coptic to Syriac to Old Norse, of course, even my own dialect, even my own language from my own island, I'm going to be singing in. Yeah. So, it's, like I said, a culturally appropriated masterpiece.
I look forward to it. And I think it's important you get those catchy numbers in there. We live in this world where you have to tickle the proverbial balls of society and like social media. Like you have to get those moments that are going to really just hook people in.
Definitely.
Because you have to play the game, unfortunately, now, and that's how.
But I mean,
these things catch fire, isn't it? If you have a couple of tracks on there, go on. I think we've got like a little delay, haven't we, between the...
We do. I think it's amazing that we managed to do it. I was thinking earlier to say maybe we should just try to hang up and call again because but we've managed to do it somewhat. Anyways, I'm sorry. Where was I? Uh, yeah, I know, but you were talking about the whole like catering to the masses. So I love being able to make a catchy tune. My only problem is that I don't
Mhm.
I that's where someone like Christopher will come in and help me, because I get really bored really quickly and then I want to get on to the next thing. And so Christopher is better to say, hey, wait
Okay.
a minute, we want to hear that hook or that melody at least two, three, four times more before we go on to the next. Let people, you know,
Mhm.
let people cook in that sauce for a little while before
Yeah, let it
you know,
sim.
before you go on to the
Yeah,
dessert or
he is a
whatever.
musical master. He's a musical master, isn't he? Like he really is a genius when it comes to music.
Christopher. Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
think I'm gonna say that here. I think especially fans of Heilung have little knowledge as to how brilliant the mastermind behind
Hmm.
Heilung is, because
Yeah.
Kai and Maria doing their thing and all the other people on stage obviously are the ones who are bringing the whole thing to life, right? He wouldn't be able to do it without really great agents for this, and Kai with all his weird esoteric shamanistic this and that and the other that he feeds into the project, which gives the sort of magical spark of it, and Maria on top being all ethereal and singing. But behind that
Hmm.
whole thing is Christopher just like managing this whole thing and creating the sounds and
Yeah.
just making everyone sound and look fantastic, and I think if no one else is going to do it, then I'm going to do it. He should be given more credit for it, even though he never asks for it and never
I
would,
agree.
and which is brilliant that he doesn't do. He should be given more credit. He's a
Yeah.
goddamn genius.
I absolutely agree. When me and my friend Meg went to see them at Download, I said to her, just watch. I was like, watch the show, but like watch Chris like over there. Like you'll see he never stops. Like he's always like mixing and tweaking and adding things and looping
Yeah,
things and doing it. Yeah, non-stop. I'm like, that's the brain behind
the brain and the
the whole
backbone. Yeah,
operation. That's where it's all kind of coming from. Yeah, it's lovely to see, and I'm so excited to hear this new album now with him on there. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
there's going to be a lot of bass.
Perfect. Let's wrap this. Yeah, we love the bass. Let's wrap this up. Let's
Yep,
wrap this up. We'll do a little Q&A and then we'll do a little story time as well. It's been a while. If
sick.
we can squeeze one in, I know we've run a little. We'll try to squeeze a little one in,
Sure.
or maybe we'll do story time with a
We could
Q&A
we
addition to it.
we could
Um,
we could do a story time later this week if you want to, and just do a Q&A now, and then do if it's getting a little late and people are getting hungry and all that stuff.
good. No, we got like half an hour, so we can. I think we do story
Okay.
time, and then if anyone has any questions, they can just throw them in, and we'll go with that. But Jonas, let people
All right.
know where they can follow you and listen to the first album and all those lovely things, and then we'll wrap this up and we'll jump into that.
Definitely. You can follow me on Instagram at Nebala Music. That's the best place to follow me for updates and so on, which there are gonna be a lot of coming now in the next couple of months, as I'm promoting this new crowdfunding initiative to get the album going. Because I also want to make a
Hmm.
video for it and everything, and now I am literally doing it on my own. So everyone who feels that Nebala gives value and want to hear more about it and hear more of what's going on and so on, please do support that initiative. As I said, it's going live here on
Hmm.
Wednesday. What did I say? Wednesday the 28th. Was that what I said? Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right.
28th, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Wednesday the 28th. So that's going live there. And of course, For those of you who haven't heard Nebala, it's there. It's on Spotify, on YouTube Music, on all the different platforms. So it's just go and search for Nebala, and there's both the music, the first album, and the live album as well. So there's lots of stuff to dig into.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, if you haven't listened to Ballad, do go and listen to it, and if you can, definitely jump on and support because I really want to see this project come to life. If you want to follow me, it's Daniel_Farron1, the business Horns of Odin, and then it's Nordic Mythology podcast across the board, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If you want to see the episodes, we put them all on there. You get that visual element. Sometimes we hold things up, or the guests have things to show. And again, just 5-star rating, positive review wherever you get your podcasts. And Patreon, like I say, it's how we keep the podcast going. It's patreon.com/Nordic Mythology podcast. And you get, like I say, the Q&A that we're going to do, the story time that where Jonas is going to expertly read out. We're going through Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology at the minute. And he puts on some lovely voices for us. They're a lot of fun. So if you want to check those out, get onto the Patreon. And that's it. Yeah, let's wrap this up and jump into that.